Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into a shocking development that has sent shockwaves through the geopolitical world. Russia's western enclave of Kaliningrad, a heavily militarized region wedged between Poland and Lithuania, is reportedly facing a total blackout after Europe cut off its external power supply. This story is not just about electricity, it's about politics, security, energy dependence, and the rising tension between Russia and the European Union. Let's break it all down and understand why this blackout matters and what it could mean for the future. Kaliningrad has always been a strategic outpost for Russia. Isolated from the rest of mainland Russia and surrounded by NATO states, it serves as both a symbolic and military stronghold for Moscow. The region hosts thousands of Russian troops, advanced missile systems, and naval bases that project power into the Baltic Sea. But despite its military importance, Kaliningrad has always been vulnerable in one crucial aspect: energy. Much of its power supply has historically depended on imports from Lithuania and other parts of Europe. The latest decision to cut off Kaliningrad's electricity links is not simply an economic or technical move. It is deeply political. European nations, especially Lithuania, have increasingly sought to reduce Russia's influence in the region and to weaken its ability to project military strength. By severing power connections, Europe is effectively testing Moscow's ability to sustain Kaliningrad on its own without Western infrastructure. This is a dramatic escalation in the hybrid war of energy, sanctions, and political pressure that has been building since the Ukraine conflict began. The blackout in Kaliningrad is more than just a technical inconvenience. Electricity powers everything from civilian infrastructure to military systems. Hospitals, schools, businesses, and public services are all under strain. More importantly, the Russian Baltic fleet stationed in Kaliningrad relies heavily on secure energy access. With the blackout, backup generators are being pushed to their limits, and Moscow has been forced to scramble alternative solutions. This sudden vulnerability raises critical questions about whether Russia can truly defend its enclave in the face of coordinated European pressure. For Europe, this move is both symbolic and strategic. By showing that it can isolate Kaliningrad from vital resources, the EU and NATO members demonstrate that Russia's military outpost is not untouchable. This is a signal to Moscow that aggression will carry consequences even outside of Ukraine. But such a move also comes with risks. Kaliningrad's blackout could provoke a dangerous escalation. Russia might see it as an attack on its sovereignty and could respond with measures that destabilize the region further. From Moscow's perspective, Kaliningrad is a lifeline for its presence in Europe. Losing control or allowing it to weaken would be unacceptable. Russia has long anticipated such risks and has invested in energy infrastructure to reduce reliance on Europe. Kaliningrad has some local generation capacity, including gas-fired plants and plans for a nuclear power station, but these have been plagued with delays, inefficiencies, and corruption. As a result, the region remains far from self-sufficient. The blackout has exposed these weaknesses in the most dramatic way possible. The people of Kaliningrad are caught in the middle of this geopolitical struggle. Ordinary citizens are facing power cuts, disruptions in daily life, and uncertainty about how long the crisis will last. While Moscow insists it can stabilize the situation quickly, reports from the ground suggest that shortages and blackouts are already creating frustration. In a region that has always felt somewhat disconnected from mainland Russia, these hardships could fuel resentment against both Moscow and Europe. It becomes not just a battle of energy, but also one of morale and public opinion. Looking at the bigger picture, this crisis is part of the wider energy war between Russia and Europe. Ever since Moscow weaponized gas supplies to Europe, EU states have sought ways to retaliate and reduce dependence on Russian energy. Cutting off Kaliningrad's electricity is part of that strategy. By targeting a vulnerable outpost, Europe sends a strong message without directly confronting Russia's mainland. It is a chess move designed to pressure Moscow while avoiding a full-scale military clash. However, such moves are never without consequences. Russia has multiple options for retaliation. It could respond by disrupting European shipping in the Baltic Sea, interfering with communication cables, or escalating military drills near NATO borders. Kaliningrad's location gives Moscow a powerful card to play. It can threaten neighboring states in ways that force Europe to think twice. In other words, this blackout could spark a new round of escalation between Russia and NATO, with unpredictable outcomes. Energy wars are not new in Europe, but the Kaliningrad blackout highlights just how intertwined security and infrastructure have become. Power grids, pipelines, and supply routes are no longer neutral. They are weapons in the modern geopolitical battlefield. By cutting power, Europe is not just flicking a switch, it is firing a warning shot at Russia's military and political ambitions. In response, Moscow is likely to accelerate efforts to make Kaliningrad energy independent. Emergency projects to expand local power plants, new gas pipelines, or even mobile nuclear facilities could be rushed into operation. But such projects take time and money, resources that Russia is already pouring into its war efforts elsewhere. The question is whether Moscow can afford to prioritize Kaliningrad while managing conflicts on multiple fronts. For NATO, this crisis is a test of unity. Lithuania's decision to push for the cutoff would not have been possible without broader European support. If Moscow retaliates harshly, the alliance will have to decide whether to back Lithuania fully or seek a more cautious path to avoid escalation. The coming weeks will reveal just how far both sides are willing to go in this dangerous power struggle. What makes this moment especially alarming is the symbolism of a total blackout. In today's world, where information, surveillance, and defense systems all depend on electricity, cutting power is one of the most aggressive non-military moves possible. It disrupts civilian life, weakens military readiness, and creates psychological pressure. For Kaliningrad, this blackout is more than an inconvenience. It is a direct challenge to its survival as Russia's outpost in Europe. So where does this all lead? The blackout could be temporary, with Russia rushing to restore power through emergency measures. But the message has already been delivered. Kaliningrad is vulnerable, and Europe is willing to exploit that weakness. The situation may push Moscow into riskier decisions, and it may also harden Europe's resolve to keep tightening the pressure. Either way, this crisis shows that the battle between Russia and the West is no longer confined to the front lines of Ukraine. It is expanding into every possible arena, including the vital lifeline of electricity. As the lights go out in Kaliningrad, the world is left wondering what comes next. Will Russia escalate in response, or will it find a way to quietly resolve the crisis? Will Europe stand united if tensions boil over, or will divisions appear? One thing is certain. This blackout is not the end of the story. It is just the beginning of another dangerous chapter in the struggle between Moscow and the West. What do you think? Is Europe's move a bold act of resistance, or a dangerous provocation that could backfire? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep analysis on world events. This is a story that is far from over, and we will keep following every development as it unfolds.